Hallo alle zusammen, wir machen heute weiter mit als, wenn und wann. Und als, wenn und wann sind natürlich auf Englisch alle when. So we're going to keep going with als, wenn and wann, and als, wenn and wann in English all translate to when, but they mean very, very different things and are used in different contexts. So if you had to think of a single example sentence for each of those three words, you've used all of them. Two of them you've used as conjunctions, als and wenn. We've used both of these as conjunctions, and of course, they're the ones that boot things, right? Both of those boot the verb to the end. And wann, we've never used as a conjunction. We've only used it as a question word. So think of some sentences that you may have where we use the words. Make sure you put one for each. All right, so the first one, I don't know what your example was. It's probably something similar to this. So you have an example sentence, wann fängt der Sommer an? So you're asking a question. That, of course, is that last one. Make sure you see that that is an A. So when does summer start? The question word wann, when. Then an example of the second one that you may have written, or something similar to. Ich lese immer, wenn ich Zeit habe. Ich lese immer, wenn ich Zeit habe. And that translates to, I always read when I have time. I always read when I have time. And of course, whoops, in German and in English, this immer is completely optional, but I put it there for a reason, and I will tell you why in a second. And my last example, my als example is, als ich klein war, las ich mehr als heute. Now, I'm using als in two very different ways, and that was very intentional. Here's your boot. So this is your conjunction. Of course, I'm starting with it in the front, so I've got my verb but going on right here. And that sentence translates to, when I was little, las ich mehr als heute. I read more than I read than today, actually, than today. Not than I read today. So in this case, this als is a very different one and not the one that we're talking about. This is your then. And that was whenever you're using comparative forms of adjectives, all that junk. So, als ich klein war, las ich mehr als heute. When I was little, I read more than today. Now, we've got three little whens. And we need to figure out what the difference is between those. We need to know what they mean. So first of all, there are different rules of when you can use them. When you have this word, wann fängt der Sommer an? This when has to be a question. That doesn't mean that it has to be a direct question like this one. It can also be an indirect question. So for example, I could say something like, wissen Sie, wann der Bus kommt? Do you know when the bus is coming? Right? So that's an indirect question, but it's still a question. That one would still have a question mark at the end. You can also have questions without question marks at the end. So any implied question, that is the one you're using. Okay, then when you have wenn, ich lese immer, wenn ich Zeit habe. I again said this immer is really important, and it is because it is a repeating event. So this wenn is in one case used when you have a repeating event. So when something happens on a regular basis. Another time it is used, it's used when you're using or making statements in the present tense. This one is actually in the present implied future, or in the future tense itself. So present tense, future tense, or repeating events. So I can make a sentence that is in the past tense, but if it has something that repeats, so I might use immer, it is still going to be this wenn. The very last one, when you have als. Als ich klein war, las ich mehr als heute. When I was little, I read more than I do today. So als is referring back to a specific moment in time or a block of time. So when I was little would not be like one single incident, I suppose. It's a block of time, but it is one chunk. It is not a repeating event. It is referring to a chunk of time. So write down those rules in your notes. I'm going to move this up, and that has the exact things I just said. Als, wenn, wann, Single moment in time or block in time must be in the past tense, often, or I should say usually, in the simple past. Then repeating events of any time, so can be future, can be present, can be past, or present, sorry about the bell, present or future tense. And wann, question words including indirect questions. All right. We are going to practice this. What I want you guys to do is I want you to go to textbook page 347 and you're going to do exercise 10-16. I do want you guys to write down the answers. You can work with a partner, but you're writing in each individual composition book and you're choosing between als and wenn. It's not going to make any sense if you just write the words, so please actually do write the whole sentences. And I want you guys to talk through it. Pay attention to tense. Again, als can only be used in the past. Then it has to be repeating or in a present tense or future tense. When you finish that, you're going to switch to another exercise, the next one actually, and I'm going to assign you guys partners as you finish. So 10-17, you're interviewing someone. I'm going to tell you more whenever you start, and I'm going to tell you who you're going to work with. So don't just start working. Come to me when you're done with the other activity. And that's it.